Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and Pokemon fans out there, I'm Ace Trainer Josh, and I'll be bringing you my Week 1 match and team builder of the IACL Season 3, Week 1 versus RockingPancake, aka my boy Matt. I'll leave his channel in the description. Anyways, let's just get on to this. I don't want to take too much of you guys' time. It's pretty late. I have school tomorrow. It's like almost 10 p.m. Actually, it is 10 p.m., but that's not the point. We're going to go over our teams, and the match already happened. I had originally recorded an entire live. I was recording it on YouTube, and no, I was uploading, and then I left my computer for like 30 minutes, came back, refreshed, it was gone, and I had already deleted my video because it was taking up too much space because my computer is very, very low on space. And long story short, I no longer have the live commentary. I hit the lime commentary. But yeah, so basically, it's gone. It's gonna have to be post commentary, but I promise next week I'll try to make it live, but we'll see. Anyways, as you can see, Matt is number 11. I am number 10, and Matt apparently has a number 1 team in the entire league when it comes to draft. Mine is number 14 out of 16, and I was like, ouch, that hurts. But anyways, I what was I gonna say? Actually, no, I need to pause really quick. I'll be right back. So I thought my dad was here, but he's not. He shouldn't be here for like another 30 minutes, so I should have enough time to record this. Anyways, my team, as you can see, is number 10. He is number 11. Coincidentally, we're right next to each other. We face week 1. It's almost, I don't know, divine intervention, you could say. But yeah, as you can see, my team is very, very bulky. It's almost very offensive. I'll make a draft analysis on my team eventually, but I just haven't had the time to do so. Plus, I haven't really felt like it. But yeah, that's my team. That's it. You can pause it, look at it if you want. But I'm just gonna go straight to the team builder. Excuse me. Anyways, my first Pokemon is my white girl because I'll go over my names right now. White girl because white girls be taking selfies like it's their damn job. So I was like, that seems like a pretty cool name. White Cobra Berry instead of Focus Sash because if I take Stuff Rock damage, I can still take a Sucker Punch from a Zoroark with Cobra Berry. So I was like, that seems to work. None of my moves OHKO it, not even Fire Blast, but if he takes any chip damage, I do quite a bit of damage to it to the point where it dies to like an extreme speed or something. I thought that'd be pretty cool. Psychic is there for stab. He can hit offensive Garchomp pretty hard. It hits a lot of his team pretty hard for the most part. His only switch in is an immunity, which is Zoroark, and you don't normally switch straight into Zoroark on an Azel to begin with. This was originally my Stealth Rocker, but I felt like Donphan was better at being the Stealth Rocker this week, so I was like, I'm going to run an offensive set this week. Toxic is for Pokemon like Florges that can easily take my Stab Psychic or Fire Blast or Energy Ball. Max Special Attack for damage, Max Speed so I can Speed Type, Max Speed Starmie. Hit it with an Energy Ball because Starmie is actually quite a problem to my team if it gets like Toxics on me, burns on me, etc. Not to mention it's a pretty good check to Entei. So that's basically what it comes down to. Anyways, my next Pokemon is my Donphan. It's one of my defensive checks this week. Pretty interesting EV spread. Basically, it allows me to not get to a kill by 2 jolly high jump kicks from full. Especially after leftovers, I don't die. Max defense, the rest some into HP. I put some into attack for some power, and I put 8 into speed so I can outspeed a non-speed invested Paliswine by 2 points. If he runs 12 or more, then he outspeeds me, but that's completely fine. He has to do so to outspeed me. And I have knockoffs. I can knock off items such as Eviolite from the Paliswine, Earthquake for stab, 2 KOs Mega Lopunny, and it also 2 hit KOs quite a bit of Pokemon on this team. 2 KOs a Starmie for the most part. There's a lot of damage to Florges, and I need to sneeze. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And yeah, anyway, Zoroark does a lot. I mean, Earthquake does a lot to Zoroark. Knockoff for Rodent Heat if it decides to switch in. And I can also knock off Skarmory. I can knock off its Rocky Helmet, its leftovers, whatever it may choose to be. I don't know what else it would be. And it's pretty much what it comes down to. And that's basically Donphan. It's here to spin, here to set up Stealth Rock, and basically a stab and a knockoff. Knockoff for basically utility. Not really there to kill anything, but it's just there to knock off items because it's good. It can knock off like Life Orb on an offensive Garchomp. It can knock off a Rocky Helmet on the Garchomp. It can knock leftovers from the Rotom Heat, stuff like that. And Fireman Ed is because I thought I was thinking of a nickname. And I was like, what's original? I was like, Fireman Ed is the fan of the New York Jets, pretty famous, and he's the biggest fan, Don fan, which is why I came up with it. I'm not a Jets fan or anything. I just thought of the Jets and Fireman Ed. Not to mention it's shiny is red, so I was like, that makes perfect sense. Might as well name it that. If you want more information on Fireman Ed, I'll link you to Wikipedia website in the description. Anyways, my next Pokemon is my Crobat, my bat side. This should have been named Wingsicle, but I didn't name it that. I'm gonna make sure I name it that whenever I do bring it next time. And I am max defense, enough speed to outspeed a max speed Starmie, his fastest Pokemon on his team, and then I just slap the rest into HP, because why not? Basically here to be a bulky defogger, so I can support my Entei if it comes down to it. Entei is really good versus his team, but it depends on what he brings. It's good to pressure Pokemon like Florges, but if Starmie is pretty healthy, it stops it reasonably well. And I don't have a clean switch into Starmie because Scald can burn. And my Heal Beller this week, as you'll see, is a Pokemon with base, like 60 special defense. So yeah, that's not good. And so basically I have to try to make sure I keep Starmie in as much check as possible by potentially burning it with Entei and potentially pivoting around with my Crobat. Originally I had U-turn on my A-Self, but I felt like I needed the Energy Ball more because it does a lot more to a Starmie if it's defensive. So I was like, I pretty much have no choice. And then Fire Blast is there for Skarmory because I need to hit Skarm somehow, some way. And Psycho goes for Stab. This was a pretty hard moveset to come up with, actually, because there were so many moves I could have put on here. But that's pretty much what I came up with at the end. And then I have Brave Bird because it does a lot to a Mega Lopunny. Inner Focus because you never know, he might try to click Fake Out, try to put me in range of a Return or Ice Punch, whatever he chooses to go for. And if he doesn't realize I have Inner Focus, Brave Bird does a lot. So that's basically the hope and the dream. U-turn for pivoting, Roost for longevity, and Defog to get rid of rocks. Pretty self-explanatory. Porygon 2, my type 2 because Porygon is pretty cancerous, let's face it. And I have a pretty interesting set though this week. I have Thunderwave, Thunderbolt, Tri-Attack, and Recover. Analytic is basically for A, more damage, and 2, Thunderbolt Analytic does a lot to a Starmie, even if he's defensive. Originally, it was just Char Attack as my only move with Ice Beam. It was either Ice Beam or Toxic for double status, but I was like, I like Thunderbolt better because Starmie is a huge problem to my team. I want it as dead as possible. And Char Attack still does a lot to a guard jump, especially if I go last with Analytic. Now, with 200 special attack, and make sure that I hit pretty hard. And originally, it was just enough to 2 KO a defensive Starmie with Tri Attack after an Analytic boost, but I was like, I kind of want Thunderbolt. So in all reality, I could have gone with like Trace or something to find out what the Zoroark was, like which mon it was, because I'm pretty sure I Trace, whatchamacallit, Illusion, but it's okay. It doesn't really matter. Then I just put the rest into defense with a Bull Nature because I still take a high jump kick reasonably well from a Mega Lopunny, potentially T-Wave it to the point where it becomes pretty useless versus my team, and basically every Pokemon on my team can kill it rather easily, even my Porygon 2. And that's pretty much Porygon 2 this week. Next is my Gramble. Yeah, base 60 special defense like I thought. And this is a pretty cool set. And basically, I have enough special attack to 2-hit KO a max defense Skarmory. If he's max special defense, then I don't know, fuck me, I guess. But I'm going to hope he's max defense if he does bring it. Fire Blast will 2-hit KO. And Brave Bird or Ironhead will do absolutely 0 to me. And I'm hoping I can just like blow him back. And not special attack, 140. Base 60 special attack isn't too much, but with a relaxed nature, not an impish nature, it does a lot more. Put the rest into defense, I put max HP, rest into defense because it doesn't really matter. I kind of want to take some hits from the special side, like a Scald from a Starmie from like a certain HP stat. So I was like, I might as well just run that. This seems like a pretty good idea. Toxic is for Pokemon like Florges, if I can catch it in there. Play Rough is for main stab, and Heal Belt is to support my team if something gets, I don't know, Skull Burn like Porygon 2, if Porygon 2 gets toxic, or, something like that. Pretty much why it's there. And, my nickname, College Grants, because, it's a Grand Bowl, and college grants are pretty intimidating, am I right? Anyways, my last Pokemon is my Entei. Shuffler because it's a reference to one of my battles I had at Flame where he had a red card Entei, and he swapped in one of my win cons with red card. So to this day, it kind of gives me Vietnam flashbacks. I'm like, Shuffler is a pretty cool name. Why not? I have dual stab, Stone Edge, extreme speed. Extreme speed is because it does a lot to its Pokemon, especially Pokemon like Rotom Heat if it's low enough, and Zoroark. Not to mention, I prioritize Sucker Punch with extreme speed, which is always pretty nice. And with this speed set, I outspeed a max speed Timid Rotom Heat by 1 point, which is pretty ideal, I guess. And Stone Edge hits Rotom Heat pretty hard. Sacred Fire is for burns because his burn switching is Rotom Heat. That gets hit by Stone Edge. Everything else can get burned. If Starmie gets burned, if he's Natural Cure, I'll be doing a good amount of damage with Sacred Fire plus burn, even if he is leftovers. And Flare Blitz, just in case I want to do a little more like Pokemon like Starmie, like Florges, like maybe, I don't know, Rotom Heat if he decides to switch into it. A Flare Blitz Charcoal Boosted will do a good amount. It will do a good amount of damage still. This Pokemon does get walled by the Corsola. Rip me, but if he brings Corsola, then props to him. I have a Porygon too, so yeah, fuck him. Anyways, that's pretty much the team, so I'm going to be looking for the replay now, and I'll basically show off the replay then, so I'll be right back. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't even have to switch sides. It was just already on my side. That's pretty good. As you can see, he brought the Pile of Swine, obviously a Stealth Rocker, Megalopony for huge damage, Zoroark for shenanigans, and I'm going to guess that Sludge Bomb for my Grand Bull. Starmie because it's his only road check to Entei. Garchomp, I'm going to guess offensive, and Fleur just being his Wish Passer, just in case somebody gets burned. Seems like a pretty cool idea, pretty cool team. I can respect it. Of course, you can see my team on the bottom. If you didn't see my team builder, it was literally the first 11 minutes of this match, of this video, so yeah. What does that tell you? So, looking at his team, I was like, what should I lead with here? I was like, I don't know what to lead with here. So I was like, I'll lead Porygon 2, predicting him to lead a Piloswine because Tri-Attack will do a good amount of damage no matter what. And if you lead to Pokemon like Florges, I can scout for a spread. I can see what his Garchomp spread is if he stays in because I'm going to 100% click Tri-Attack if he leads with it. And, you know, stuff like that. Sure, I hope we didn't hear that. Anyways, this is on fast. I got to put this on slow. Anyways, I go for Tri-Attack here knowing I eat any hit. Or do I switch? Okay, no, I go for T-Wave because if you went for Fake Out, I live Fake Out plus High Jump Kick if you decided to go for it. But I felt like he wouldn't click Fake Out. I felt like he would just click High Jump Kick. Anyways, I go to my Entei because it's a pretty safe switch into this thing every time. Plus, he has like HP Ground and his max special attack. So I'm like, okay, time to go for Sacred Fire. I get the scout out for his defensive Starmie spread. As he goes into the Samstar, pretty cool name. I go for Sacred Fire and I do absolutely nothing. I do 30%. And I go to my calc and I'm like, this isn't just max HP, max speed. This is like max HP with a lot of defense, probably enough speed to outspeed a Adamant Entei, which would make sense. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of a problem now, but I know it doesn't outspeed my Azelf, meaning Azelf will easily kill it if it's under 70%. Goes for Skull, I pray for no burn, and he doesn't get the burn, so I'm like, great. I get to fire off a free Tri-Attack. I can scout for the Florges spread, like I said, and he is paralyzed, so I can always pray for paras and such. I go for my Tri-Attack. This is Analytic Boost Stab, that's 30%. I go to my calc, that's the standard max HP, max defense set, and I'm like, okay, that's okay by me. I'm just going to go back into my Entei, I believe. Do I go back to my Entei? No, actually, I did this value yesterday. I should know what I did. Anyways, I go to my Fireman Ed because I realize it's my perfect chance to go for Stealth Rock. And worst case scenario, he goes into like Starmie, and then he gets another chance to try to burn something. And even if he does do that, I would just go for Knockoff and get rid of the leftovers on that thing, make it pretty useless. Anyways, he goes into his Piloswine, so I'm like, that's fine. I can go for Knockoff here, as he does go for his own Stealth Rock, and I'm like, that's fine. Like, he just go for Rapid Spin, it isn't a problem. Icicle Crash cannot 2-hit KO me because of my defensive spread. He goes for Icicle Crash, that's 50% exactly, and I'm like, okay, time to go for Spin, but he does get the flinch first turn, so I'm like, that's fine. I can easily just go for another Rapid Spin. I'm fine with stacking my Piloswine at this point. I mean, not my Piloswine, my Donphan at this point because I have plenty of checks to Megalopony. Anyways, I go for the spin again, and he does get the flinch again. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I have something to at least sack to Megalopony later on in the match, or Starmie if it comes down to it. And so I'm like, okay, I know he's going to go for Ice Shard or Icicle Crash again. Either or. Porygon 2 is the safest switch because 1, I outspeed, and 2, Tri-Attack does a lot. So I'm like, okay, time to go for Recover because I can try to... Oh, and I go for Tri-Attack first, scout for damage. I know he's not going to kill me. If he has Toxic, I go into my Gramble and I just go for Heal Bell. Get my leftovers recovery back, not a problem. He goes for Earthquake, does absolutely nothing. So I'm like, okay, time to recover here because I want to get as much, HP as possible. I see he keeps going for Earthquake, so I'm like, okay, he's just gonna sack his Palace Vine. I guess he sees it as pretty useless, which I don't blame him for. Kind of dies to a lot of Pokemon on my team. Besides, actually, it lives a couple hits from Crobat and Gramble, so I don't know. Anyways, I go for Try Attack and I get the roll, so I'm like, sweet. So my Porygon 2 is at 74% and it gets the first kill of the season. So there you go. He goes into hater Pokemon fans, the Megalopony, so I'm like, okay. I kind of have to switch into my Donphan. It's why I kept it to begin with. It's a pretty good sack at this point. Gonna go to my Fireman Ed. Did absolutely nothing. Only got to set up Stealth Rock. Gets to do a good 12% to his Megalopony. Put in Ranger Brave Bird from Crobat, so I'm like, I can respect it. Go straight for High Jump Kick because he knew I died to High Jump Kick at that range. Actually, no, if I was max defense, I might not have died, but I was in max defense. Anyways, I go to my college grants to Gramble. He doesn't have a fairy resist, so I'm like, I could scout for his check to this thing, see how much it does to a potential Florges switching, as he does switch into Florges, and I'm like, okay, let's hope this can do at least 35 to 40%. Gramble's pretty strong, right? That's 29%. I'm like, that's not good. And if I was real, I could have stayed in here and gone for another play rough and tried to kill this thing, hope for a para. But I don't do that because I'm not a man, and I wanted to keep my Gramble around for Megalopony. So I go to my type 2, because this is a perfect opportunity to put myself back at full HP. He gets paralyzed right there. So if I had stayed in there, I think I actually just got a kill. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it's okay. I go for my recovery here, and he gets paralyzed again here, I think, or does he go for the wish? Yeah, he gets paralyzed again, so I'm like, dang, that makes me regret not staying with my Gramble. So I'm like, I could have easily killed this thing, but I'm like, it's okay. Go for Try Attack, do it 24%, which it's okay. I wasn't analytic boosted there. If he got paired there again, that would have been pretty huge, but he doesn't get paired 3 times in a row, which I can't really bank on. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go for the Try Attack here. I really have no other choice. As he outspeeds because he went for the Protect, obviously. He still didn't die to the analytic boost Try Attack because this thing is so bulky. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going anywhere with this, so I'm just gonna go into my Ante, force this thing out again, with a Sacred Fire or a Flare Blitz, whatever I do choose to go for. More than likely, Sacred Fire because it can always get that 50% chance for a burn. He goes for the Heal Bell to get rid of Paralysis, which I can respect because Paralysis was being really, really annoying to him. So, that was definitely a respectable play on his part. And this is quite a long match, so I do, I do apologize for these long turns of stalling. And at this point, I'm pretty sure he thinks I'm banded or just locked in at some point. Locked in some way, shape, or form. But I'm not, obviously. But there's not much I can really do to start me to begin with. I just go for Sacred Fire, do 31%, hope for a burn, and it's the second time in a row I don't get a burn. And I know it doesn't matter because he's obviously natural cure, but a burn would have been cool because it forced this thing to go for recover, and I could easily get a free switch into something such as like my Azelf or my Crobat and easily pressure this thing. Anyways, he goes for Rapid Spin, and the reason why I never went for the Fog on my Crobat to begin with on the floor just was one, I wanted to Stealth Rock up in the field for Pokemon such as Zoroark, so I can scout for which Pokemon he's hiding as Zoroark. So I was like, okay, now I can go for the Fog. It's not a problem anymore because I can no longer get rocks up on the field on my side. Well, on his side, I mean, which is quite unfortunate because it was good for Pokemon like the Zoroarks I can scout. Anyways, I go for Try Attack again, do 32%, and I'm like, okay, this is my perfect opportunity to get the defog off, man. I can't talk. So I'm like, okay. He goes for the wish. So I'm like, okay. If he switches to get the free defog off, if he protects, it's fine. I just don't get the defog off this turn. I get more leftovers back, if anything. And here's the thing in live, I kind of forgot defog actually didn't go through protect, and I almost clicked U-turn predicting the switch, and I was like, oh wait, Stealth Rock are still up on the field. I need to click defog right now. So I'm like, okay. I click it this turn, and I do get it off of the field on this guard jump, and I'm like, okay. And you don't notice because this isn't a live, but in the live I was like, I swear, if this is special special guard chomp, and he goes for Earth Power on my Gramble, I'm gonna be so mad. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go into Gramble, hope he goes for like anything but a max special attack Earth Power with a Life Orb. And that's exactly what he does. He goes straight for the Earth Power, which is a great play on his part, and does 64%. And I'm like, yeah. According to my calc, that is max special attack with a Life Orb, Timid Nature. or naive, whatever he may choose to run. Maybe he has outrage, I don't know. And that's pretty scary because I don't really have a clean switch into this thing. But here's where I decide to shout out the blunder, stunt or die. And I predict this Draco meteor here, predicting my Crobat as I switch in. So I'm like, okay, technically play rough here. There's no way he goes for double Earth Power, knowing I have a Porygon 2 and a Crobat. So I'm like, he goes for Draco meteor, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was pretty satisfying right there. And I go for the play rough, and that does a good amount of damage. I don't kill because I'm not attack invested at all, and I get a minus attack drop there, which is pretty cool. If he was like actual physical Garchomp, that would have been pretty cool, but it's not. So I'm like, okay. And since I got the fog off, I was never going to miss that play rough. So yeah, shout out the Crobat right there. I go for the play rough and obviously don't kill. So I'm like, I go to my Calc, and I know he's going for Earth Power, and Earth Power does absolutely nothing to Porygon 2. So I'm just going to go to my Porygon 2. I am not Calm Nature or Special Defense invested on my Porygon 2, and it still does absolutely zero. So like, that's great. If he has Toxic, then so be it. I can guess I can deal with it if he does have it, because I may be able to get a heal ball off with my Gramble, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm pretty drastically low at this point, to the point where I have to get a free switch in on the Mega Lopunny to actually kill it. I mean, to get a heal ball off. As he actually does go for the Toxic here. I mean, I figured he would have it. It made sense because Porygon 2 actually walls this set after a Draco Meteor, or just in general. So I'm like, that's fine. I'm just going to go into Crobat here. He's -2. He can't do much to me at all. And he goes into his Florges, which I can respect. That's a pretty respectable play, because he realizes I don't have the greatest answers to this thing. I do have Toxic on my my Azelf, but I have to get a free switch into it, and he has Heal Bell still, and Moonblast will do a lot to me until it KOs me. So I can't really beat him that way. The only way to beat him would actually be with Entei. In order to do that, I have to kill his Starmie. So basically, this is what I'm thinking about in my head. As I go for U-turn, I killed a Garchomp on the switch, and so like, that's cool. He doesn't get a free hit off on me anymore. So at this point, I actually had a pretty tough time predicting. Well, I had a hard time thinking about what I should go into, because if I went into Entei, it lured in the Starmie, and I didn't have much of a switch in for it. If I went into my Gramble, it lured in the Starmie, and I didn't have a switch in for it. If I went into my Azelf, he went into Mega Lopunny, which I guess I could have dealt with, but I felt like that wasn't the right play. And I could have also brought in Zoroark, and since I don't have Stealth Rock up in the field, I don't know which is Zoroark. Could easily be Florges, but if it isn't Florges, then I'll know which one it is, because Mega Lopunny and Starmie have taken damage. And not to mention, my only other switch in was possibly those three Pokemon. Well, it was Porygon 2, Gramble, Entei, and Azelf, and in my opinion, Porygon 2 is the best matchup. It lures in Mega Lopunny, which is fine because I have a Gramble still. I can sack to it, put it in a -1, and I can go to my Crobat and pressure it out with Brave Bird. So that was my process of elimination there. It was actually pretty tough, and I was like, it lured in the Mega Lopunny like I figured it would, so I'm like, it's time to just go into my Gramble. He's going to go for Fake Out here to put me in range if I Jump Kick, or just return in general. He could have done that, but I'm sure he was afraid of T-Wave, so he wouldn't just do that. As I go to my College Grants, I predict the Fake Out, put him to -1, so I'm like, this is still good to put him at -1 later on in the game, because I don't expect Mega Lopunny to actually die in these next couple turns, so I'm like, I'm going to go to my bat side, and I'm going to go for Brave Bird here, because it pressures his team reasonably well. It doesn't do a lot to Florges, but I outstall Florges. It doesn't even beat me, and that is fine. And if he does go in the Florges, I can just go for U-turn, if anything, and I just go into my Entei and start pressuring him again. As he goes into Starmie on my Brave Bird, which is definitely very interesting. And I lied. I go for Roost. I go for Roost here because I want to make sure I'm as healthy as possible on the Mega Lopunny. I probably should have predicted the switch, but even if he did, I want to make sure I'm still as healthy as possible. I go for U-turn, do absolutely nothing, does 28%. And I'm like, ouch, man, that actually did 0. Proving how defensive this thing really is. So I'm going to go to my Starmie here, and he goes for Recover. I was kind of expecting a Scald, but that works as well. I'm just going to go for Energy Ball here, because it 2-hit kills the Starmie, and I just want to get this thing out of here. Not to mention, if it goes in the Florges, like I said, I just go into my Entei and I just pressure him. As he goes into his Zoroark, and it's not the freaking illusion. So I'm like, was he Garchomp or something? I kind of figured he would be Mega Lopunny to lure in my Gramble and blow me back with Sludge Bomb, but he wasn't anything. I don't know why. I haven't used Zoroark myself. I know it turns into the Pokemon that is in the last part of the party, and I kind of don't know what happened, but I'm not gonna question it because I 2 KO this thing. He goes for Sucker Punch, and my Cobra Berry does pop. Of course, Focus Sash would have worked just as equally, but like I said, if Starfrock was up on the field, I would die. 2 is Sucker Punch, and I could just easily 2 KO this thing with Energy Ball. So there you go. That actually worked. I wasn't sure how good a prep that Energy Ball was, but I was like, that worked as well. I was thinking I could sack this thing, but I was like, no, this thing is still pretty good for pressuring Starmie. So I'm going to go into my Gramble. He has no reason to not go for Frustration, and he does go for that, and that will 100% take me out since I'm not even max defense, max HP, like I originally was, but I expected Scarm. He didn't bring Scarm, and that actually broke my heart when I saw that. Anyways, I go into my Crobat, and this is actually the funniest play of the entire game. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for Brave Bird, and actually, wait, no, it's not that part yet. I'm kind of spoiling the entire match, but I kind of forget he goes into the Starmie here as I go for the Brave Bird, and I do 35%, and I'm like, sweet. I can just go for U-turn here as I force him to go for A, recover, B, recover, C, recover, or D, all of the above. So I'm going to go for U-turn, and I'm just going to go straight into my Porygon to pressure this thing out with a Analytic Boosted Tri-Attack or even T-Bolt. But at this point, there's no reason to click Thunderbolt in any scenario unless I go for the Paralysis, which I'm not really fishing for at this point. If anything, I'd go for the 20% status with the Tri-Attack that comes with it. So I'm like, no, that seems like a better idea. As he does go into, I believe, the Florges. Yeah, he goes in the Pretty Lady. As I go for the Tri-Attack, yeah, I do. This is Analytic Boost, and that did absolutely nothing that time. I got the lowest roll possible there. I went from a 32% to a 27% Analytic Boosted Tri-Attack. And I'm like, eesh. That was could have been better. As I just go into my Entei here because this thing constantly pressures this thing out of here, and I'm praying that at some point I can get the burn on the Starmie, and I can start pressuring this thing. I mean, I can start pressuring Starmie with my Crobat with Brave Bird because Brave Bird does do 35%, as U-turn only does 28%, proving the superior move right there on Crobat. So I go for Sacred Fire. He still thinks I'm locked in at this point. I'm like pretty sure. So I'm going to go for the Sacred Fire. No reason to not click Sacred Fire ever. As he does go into Starmie. And I'm like, I'm praying for a burn. Because if I get the burn, I'm going to get about 38% damage off on this thing. As I get a lower roll with the Sacred Fire, but I get the burn that makes up for it. Meaning I'm going to get a total of 34% damage on this thing. Meaning he's going to go for 1 Scald, which I kind of expected to kill my Entei. Or he'll go for the Recover. So either way, Porygon 2 was my best switch in here, as he goes for Scald, which was a pretty decent play. That probably killed my Entei at 58%, even if he is non-invested Starmie, because Starmie is pretty powerful in general. So I'm going to go for the Tri-Attack here again, I believe, as he does switch, proving to be Natural Cure, but that was pretty obvious from the get-go. You wouldn't run a non-Natural Cure Starmie to counter an Entei. As I go for Recover, not Tri-Attack, because I want to be as healthy as possible for Florges if it comes down to it. And I'm like, okay. He goes into this Mega Lopunny, and I'm going to go into my Crobat. I'm going to hope he doesn't click 2 Frustrations, because I can actually potentially 2 KO me. But he goes for Fake Out, gets a crit Fake Out there, which is all fine and dandy. So I'm like, okay, I can live any Frustration, Ice Punch, etc. I'm going to go for Brave Bird. It does a good amount of damage to his entire team, and, seems like a reasonably cool idea. As he goes into the Starmie, it does a lot more. That's 38% that time, and it puts it in range of Brave Bird. It even puts it in range of U-turn, which I kind of wanted to go for, but I was like, that's not worth it. I'm going to go for Brave Bird. I take out the Starmie, easily the most threatening Pokemon on his team, in my opinion, next to Mega Lopunny, of course, but I have a good amount of checks to Mega Lopunny, and I believe this is the funniest turn of the entire game. I told you I had inner focus for this one reason. I don't die to Frustration from here. I'm sure he's thinking, according to my calcs, Fake Out plus Frustration kills this thing. Let's go for it. And he goes for the Fake Out, and he forgets I have inner focus, and I'm able to blow this thing back with Brave Bird. And I was like, that was the greatest turn I've ever played as an IACL member. And that was the first week of the IACL Season 3. And he just forfeits here. So we don't even get to find out who kills Entei in the long run. But I spoke with Flame afterwards, and he was like, just give the kill to the Crobat. And I was like, okay, that means Crobat gets 4 kills in week 1. I was like, that's actually pretty shocking, considering I was a utility set with no attack investment whatsoever. Man, that was a mouthful. I am absolutely breathless. I haven't spoke that much in a while. But yeah, that was GG to GG to Matt right there. And I'm gonna pull a Flame Dog 3 here, and I'm actually gonna show the division standings and the kill death sheet after today's game. Shout out to Matt. Pretty good game on his part. I don't think he made the plays he necessarily needed to make to win the game, but it was still pretty decently played on his part. The Starmie set definitely kind of caught me off guard. I figured he would bring like max HP, max speed to at least speed time my Azelf, but he didn't bring that. So props to him, I guess. Anyways, where's the Texas Turf? As you can see right here, the TT, on the very bottom, you can see the stats for my team. Gramble, of course, finishing with a -1 differential, and so does Dawn Fan, but that's fine. They didn't get their opportunity to shine this game since they got absolutely blown back. And, well, actually, no, Gramble did a pretty good job. Dawn Fan got blown back by 2 flinches. Hashtag RIP. I would stick my dick out for you, but that is only for Harambe. Anyways, let's talk about Crobat for a second. 4 kills, no deaths, and its first game played. Absolutely phenomenal Pokemon. No wonder why Crobat fucks this thing every single night before he goes to bed. It's absolutely remarkable. Entei didn't get a single kill, which is fine. Looking at the team matchup, I kind of figured that would happen, but it was still good for pressuring his team. I mean, if we still played, I'm pretty sure Entei would have killed the Florges. But since he forfeited, we just had to give it to the Pokemon that was on the field, and that was Crobat. And then Porygon 2, getting 1 kill. It was able to kill the Piloswine. Able to avenge the Donphan for getting flinched twice in a row, which was absolutely terrible. And then Azelf hit the field once, and it 2-hit KO'd something that would be able to kill it without a Focus Sash, and that was because we ate a Colbur Berry and 2-hit KO'd with a non-stab Energy Ball. Props to you, Azelf, you beautiful white girl. You're absolutely phenomenal, and you got the first kill. And this basically sums up the entirety of our stats. We now go to the conferences, and as you can see, if I can find myself. Where in the heck? Oh shoot! Where did I just click? Why did I just click? I don't even know. As you can see, I am number 1 in the entire conference right now after 1 game. Spoilers for anybody who is subscribed to King, Frank, and Hunty. As you can see, Hunter won and King and Frank lost 2-0, and Hunter won 3-0. I'm winning by 1 game, beating King by a total of 6 games and Frank by 6 as well. But this is, of course, just the very beginning, as I actually play Frank and his powerful squad next week for week 2. And as you can see, he's number 3 with Manaphy, Tangrowth, Metagross, Galvantula, Hitmontop, Umbreon, Rotofan, Pelipper, Mega Garchomp, and Infernape. Really, 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 really threatening team. Like, I can't describe how threatening it is. Like, Mega Garchomp is actually the most threatening Pokemon in his entire team. I'm not even scared of Manaphy or Metagross or literally any other setup sweeper he has, like Infernape, who destroyed me last time I played it. I'm scared of the Mega Garchomp, which is known as like the worst Mega in the entire game. Think about that, guys. So that pretty much sums up the entire game. Not much else to say. And I feel like I should be up on out of here. It's been about 35, almost 34 minutes. And it was basically a good game to Matt. Sorry it had to end in such a brutal way, but I can't really do much about that. And hopefully the mic was able to pick up most of my sounds in the live. I actually could not understand what I was saying half the time. So hopefully this is better. And for my next live, I understand what I need to do to make sure I can be more clear when it comes to my speech. Anyways, I'm going to be up on out of here. We're hitting 34 minutes, so au revoir and peace.